I just pressed record. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. 3, 2, 1. Yo! What is going on, guys? Matthew V. Haynes here, a.k.a. The Clockmaster. I'm here. My buddy Dylan. Say what's up. Y'all might have seen him before if you have not.
Hey, guys.
It's my friend right here.
How you doing?
Like I said, we're gonna talk about Solo, a Star Wars story.
Oh man, dang boss, we're talking about Star Wars.
We're talking about Star Wars today.
Oh, gee golly willikers, I'm excited.
Well, did you ever see the whole Shazam when he had other Billy Batsons from other states? No. And there was a whole bunch of other Billy Batsons from other states, and they called the regular Billy Batson. They were like, "You're a real Billy," and then there was a shorter Billy Batson. It was like just guys that looked different, but they all had the same name. And for some reason, because their name was Shazam, they can turn into I mean, their name was Billy Batson. They could turn into Shazam. So it was just weird. It's an older one. So basically, what I'm getting to, right? They had one. He's like, he's from Brooklyn. He's like, you can call me Fat Billy. And then the other one was like, the other one's like, you can call me Tall Billy. And the guy was from down south. He's like, you can call me Hellbilly. So, and I was like, he's like, and we'll call you Real Billy. He's like, Savannah,
Hellbilly.
He's like, you can call me Hellbilly.
I ain't ashamed of it.
I was like,
my
man,
mom and my sister are the same person.
No, it's just like they were just coming up with nicknames. Call me Fat Billy. It was such insulting names. Call me Fat Billy. Call me Tall Billy. Call me Hellbilly. Like, anyways, guys, we're here to talk about Solo, a Star Wars story. It is a full spoiler video, so if you have not seen Solo by now, I'm sorry. You should go watch it. If you haven't seen Solo, you can watch my spoiler-free review, which I posted a couple days ago. 2 days ago, actually. You can check it out. We're here to go in and talk about everything. So this is your final warning. If you have not seen the movie, please make sure to watch it because we will be discussing spoilers in depth.
Everybody dies. No, wait, that's Infinity
War. Wrong movie. And like, what if you just accidentally spoiled somebody in Infinity War? You should have seen it by now.
Whoops.
Whoops.
Sorry, you're not one of the everybody in the world who saw that movie.
Whoops-a-daisy. All right. We're ready to talk about Solo. Dylan, since you're the guest on the channel here, I'm going to just let you start, man. Start with whatever you want to talk about.
I just want to talk about it in general first, because honestly, like, I feel like we should get that out of the way. Just our general feelings about Solo.
Okay.
So, I'm going to put it out there. I really freaking like this movie. I really did. I went into it excited as hell, and I came out satisfied with it. Quite honestly, like, I haven't been the biggest fan of the Disney movies. I feel like the saga ones that they do, like the sequel trilogy, is not grabbing me as much as the Solo standalone movies are doing. And Solo was not an exception to this rule. Like, it is right underneath Rogue One for me, and that's liable to change on a second viewing or a third viewing or whatever the hell. But right now where it's standing, like, I like Rogue One the most, and Solo is right underneath it, like very close behind. And it's mainly for one reason why I don't like Solo better.
What's that?
That one reason is just thrown in at the end of the movie, because I guess it's Star Wars, so hey, look, we want these things because we're rebels. Yay.
Yeah, I hated that too. I was like,
just like, they could have literally just been like, oh, we're marauders. We steal stuff because we need to protect our people, because the business we're in is dangerous. Like, we're stealing the starship fuel so we can buy better guns and so we can, actually get ships.
Like, that would have been like more similar to like the Star Wars Last Jedi Cobalt Squadron book, where Rose Tico and them, they went to Empire colony planet, and basically they were like marauders who were rebellious, not because they wanted to join the rebellion, but because they literally were living on a planet where the water was toxic and the Empire had water and they were trying to survive. Like that was
Yeah,
the only
I think
reason.
that's
Like
what it
that would
should've
have
been.
been. It should have been that. Yeah. It kind of
Because, like,
threw me off when it was like, oh well, you'll be a rebel. Maybe one day you'll think about it. And I'm like,
you don't need that.
why?
We know that's gonna happen.
Yeah.
Also, they're basically setting it up like this is the start of the rebellion. When we saw that in episode 3 with Padme and Bail Organa and Mon Mothma, when they literally sit down in a room and they're like, "We're starting the rebellion." Like,
Yep.
you don't need this like random ass chick and her stupid like random ass people being like, we need this starship fuel so we can start the rebellion. It's like, first of all, there's 10 of you. Like, you're all gonna die. Second of all, we don't need this right now. Like, can't this just be a cool movie, like a gangster movie, essentially? Like, you don't have to throw the galactic civil war into it at the end because you feel it's a Star Wars movie. Like, we know it's gonna end up there. He's gonna end up being part of the rebellion.
Because I read that this actually takes place. Solo actually takes place between 3 and episode 4. So
yeah, it takes place, I think, 9 years before New Hope. So it's 10 years after Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah.
So like, we know it's gonna get there. We know there's rebellions.
It was like, it was unnecessary to mention the rebellion. I kind of felt really cringy at that point, and I was like, it felt very forced and cringy, and I'm like, oh god, here we go again.
Like, these guys were mysterious, cool, badass pirates, and then you're like, just kidding, the rebels. I'm like,
I kind of knew they were gonna go that route.
I didn't.
The minute when she started telling her backstory, I'm like, okay, they're gonna do some stupid resistance. Not the resistance. Hold on, the rebellion. The rebellion. I gotta be specific.
By the way, the resistance. Dumb name. Just keep the rebellion. Like, there's no reason to change it.
Yeah, I don't know. They're trying to be new.
The resistance. The first order makes sense, but like, why do you need to change the rebellion?
The resistance. You know? I don't get it. But like, before we get into, was that pretty much all you had to say about your general thoughts?
In general, I really like the film. That was the big thing that really disappointed me with it.
Yeah.
Other than that, like, I really enjoyed the movie. There's a lot of fun. Like, it's just a fun movie, and I'm glad, honestly, that they decided this time we're gonna release it in summer. You know, because this feels like a summer blockbuster. It doesn't feel like it belongs in that December. This is award season. We'll release all the best movies of the year now kind of situation. You know? This feels like it belongs in the like the movie slate with Deadpool 2 and Infinity War and Ant-Man and the Wasp when it comes out. You know,
It does.
Like, I think if it came out in December, it might have actually done worse.
I think so too.
Because it wouldn't have lived up to that award season. Like, you're going into the movies expecting to see something fantastic kind of shtick. You know. Other than that, yeah, I think it's great. That's pretty much my general thoughts on it.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty much the same thoughts as Dylan. I mean, I really enjoyed the movie. I was actually, though, different. When I went into this movie, I was so unmotivated to go. I had the movie pass, so I'm like, okay, well, I'm just gonna go in there for free. I don't really have to pay for this. I'm not wasting my money if I don't like it. So I went in, used the movie pass, went in. I was like, honestly, I was expecting to hate this movie. I was not expecting to like it. I was not expecting to enjoy anything from it. I was like, no, because from the jump, I didn't really like Alden, Aaron Reich as Han. I didn't really like all the elements that were. I just didn't like it. I just thought I wasn't gonna like it. And the minute I walked in, and the first 20 minutes of the film, I was like, I think I'm going to love this movie. And I did. And this is one of the times when I actually went in and I was like, you know what? I don't think I'm going to like it, but I'll watch it because maybe my opinion will change. Well, it was one of those movies where I watched it and I'm like, wow, I actually did like it. And for me personally, I know Dylan, we'll get to the score later, but I know Dylan and I had a little discussion mentioning the score earlier. But for me personally, when I watched the movie, the first 20 minutes, the music was what got me into it. Because I was like, let me hear, because recently John Williams and the Star Wars soundtrack and score for the Disney era of films haven't really been doing too well. It wasn't anything super creative. It wasn't anything memorable to me. It was just, even like Last Jedi, I listened to the score like a lot of times, and I don't remember a lot of themes or motifs from that score at all, and that's bad. But when I watched this movie and I heard the score, I was like, okay, it fits the movie, and I liked it, and I was like, this fits what's going on right now. The chase in Corellia, it fit that scene for me, and it fit it, and it did, and that's kind of what actually made me like the movie a lot more. And I recently listened to the soundtrack again, just to make sure I can, to clarify or to come to a final decision on my opinions for the score, and I listened to it properly, and I personally wasn't disappointed with any track that I heard. I was very engaged. I liked it so much more than a Rogue One score. I liked it a lot more than the Last Jedi score, for me personally. And I just had fun with it. And the movie, like Dylan said, the movie's super fun. There was a lot of moments that stood out to me that were fun. There were some cringy moments. It wasn't a perfect movie. I gave it about like an 8.5-ish on my scale. It wasn't. Yeah, it wasn't a perfect movie. It had a couple of loose ends and a couple of things, because also we can talk about this more in depth later. Where, as far as how he got his name, we can talk about that. But I kind of liked how they did it, but then again, it also doesn't fit with the original trilogy, because it's like he was given his name by an Imperial soldier, but now he's fighting the Imperial. He doesn't like these guys. Why does he keep the name? You know what I mean?
Here's the thing. I kind of like the name thing.
Yeah.
I kind of don't, because like it's a name. Like, it should just be his name. Like, I don't see why in a world where you have a guy named Skywalker, a guy's last name is Windu, or like Kit Fisto, you have all these crazy ass names, and this guy can't be Han Solo, just straight out of the bat.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that's a bit of a problem, but at the same time, I did kind of like the way they did it. Not when I watched it, but when I was talking with my dad on the ride back from the film, because he kind of referred to it as like when immigrants came to the U.S. on Ellis Island and they were given names,
Mm-hmm.
And with that, I kind of like, okay, that's actually kind of cool. It's a cool little. I don't know if they did that intentionally. I don't think they did. I'm not going to say that they did, but in my mind, at least, it kind of harkens back to that. And it works on a different level, for me at least.
Yeah, I think, because when I saw it, it's like, okay, it's like asking, it's like look at this. Who can I actually use for a good? Okay, look at what's his name? Like, okay. Dang, how do I forget my my Game of Thrones cast? So Jon, okay, look at Jon Snow. Like, look at how they gave names back in that time. Like, for instance, look at his name. His name was, because he's a bastard boy. His name's Snow. He's born in this region, so okay. You're born in the region, the Snow region, so we'll name you Jon Snow. Or if you're from the Sand Sisters, who's born in the sand, and so such and so forth. So it's like, okay, well, he's not attached to a family. And or at least they don't know who his dad is, or really. So it's like, okay, well, Han Solo. So I was like, oh, I was like, okay. At the time when I saw it, I accepted it. But then when I saw someone made a comment about it, I was like, oh, okay, I can see why you would be upset. But it's not too much of a big gripe for me. I kind of get it, and I accepted it. I accepted it. I didn't have an issue with it.
I gotta say though, they did leave that door open a bit, where they're like, oh, I don't have any people. But then later in the film, he talks directly about his father.
His father, exactly, which is weird.
And what I'm worried about is they're going to, like, if they decide to do sequels, which they might not, because for some reason people have been saying this film isn't a success, even though it's making millions of dollars. If they decide, like, oh, what if we bring Han's father in, and then you find out his true name? I'm worried that they do something like that in the future.
Because what they're trying to do is something that Harrison Ford has been complaining about for years, is him having a character that is so empty. and a character that has no depth. And that's one of the things that Harrison complained about, that, hey, I like playing Indy because Indy is so complex and he has so many layers to him that you can unfold certain things, and he's such a, he's a character you can dive into.
Because
but
you have a backstory.
Backstory. But Han, he said when he played Han, it's like Han was unmotivating for him, because it's like Han is just this guy here. He's just supposed to be this cool guy. He's very mysterious, but he's not like Yoda. He's not like Yoda mysterious. Yeah.
His character's just snark.
Exactly.
If anything, there's nothing to base where that character is coming off of. You just kind of have to. It's less basing your character off of an established backstory and more just basing your character off of how he reacts to events within a film.
Yeah.
Like there's nothing there for him, and I guess that makes sense because there is a lack of depth in Han Solo. He's very one-dimensional.
Very one-dimensional.
Until I'd say probably Jedi,
Okay.
Or the end of Empire when he sacrifices himself for Leia and them.
Mm-hmm.
But I can see that. But again, going back, if they do decide to go that route where this is Han Solo's true name because we now know his father or something,
I wouldn't like that at all.
I would be really annoyed with it because you established the fact that this is where he got his name. He continued to use that name because he was in the Empire for 3 years. And then he got a reputation using that name. So he continued to use that name. And then they go back and they're like, but his real name's Han Dingleass or something terrible like that.
Yeah.
And it's well, now I'm never going to see him as Han Solo again.
Exactly.
Or even just as Han again. It's going to be Han Dingleass, the guy with the stupid name and the terrible backstory,
Yeah. Oh, you found that his dad was actually some random Jedi or some crap like that.
It makes me think of I don't know if you ever seen this, but as a kid I saw the Aladdin sequels, where the third one they do the Prince of Thieves, and it's Aladdin's dad, and he comes back and he's kind of a bad guy but not really a bad guy, and I can literally see Disney being yoink, drop, we're doing that, guys. Look, Han Solo's father is here. Is he good? Is he bad? Who knows?
It's like Ninja. It's like Ninjago. It's like my dad is the bad guy, and I'm the good guy.
You find out that he's actually he seems really nice, but he's actually a really bad guy.
He's actually a Sith. He's actually worked for the Sith or some crap. He was a Sith slave. I don't know.
At the end, it's but he has a turn of heart that makes him slightly better than being a horrible person.
And then he runs away and has Han.
Yeah, and you never find Han again. And he never sees Han again.
Some crap.
But the thing is, I feel they would do that even though they kind of already did it in this film with Bennett,
Yeah.
Where you have he's not he kind of is like a father.
Father figure, definitely. I got that from the film.
I forget the name of the giant weird worm lady that comes out of the water.
I forgot her name too. Yeah.
If you see that character kind of as a mother figure for Han, because she took him in, she basically raised him, taught him to do everything he knows how to do, steal and drive and all that stuff. And now you see Bennett's kind of the deadbeat dad who comes in. And he's like, "Hey son, haven't seen you in 20 years."
It's kind of like you ever seen that show Frasier?
No.
Oh man, Frasier is very similar scenario like that. That's fine. Yeah, Frasier is a very similar scenario like that. He's not close with his dad, and then he's just okay, well, here I am, Yeah. But yeah, basically, just to wrap up my actual thoughts. I mean, movie was good, had good moments, fun moments. I laughed at a lot of the jokes, and I laughed at a lot of the jokes more than I did for Deadpool, and.
I wouldn't say that
for my experience, because
if I'm being honest, Deadpool 2 is still probably my favorite movie I've seen this year.
That's fine. I mean, that's fine, man. I'm not even gonna argue with that. I mean, for me, just for me personally, Deadpool 2 is just not my shtick, man. It's not my thing. It wasn't my thing this year, and I'm willing to give it another try and see maybe if that changes. But as of right now, Solo is definitely my top 5 for the year. Deadpool is not, but Solo's in my top 5, and I actually enjoyed. I had a better experience. You see, I went into Deadpool 2 wanting to like it, and I left disappointed for some reason. And But Solo, I went in feeling that I would leave underwhelmed, and I came out very happy, and I enjoyed every minute of it. And the thing is with Alden is that he's not an exact. I said this in my spoiler free. He's not an exact copy of Han, nor is he of Harrison Ford. Nor is he trying to be.
Nor should he be.
Nor should he be. And he kind of took the character and did his own thing with it, and I really liked it. And I really liked what I got from him. And I wasn't even mad. Like, I was happy with that Han. And the thing is, for me, like, I wasn't a huge Han fan. To be honest with you, I wasn't a huge Han Solo fan prior to this movie. But this movie made me like Han Solo a lot more. And made me actually appreciate the relationship between Han and Chewie 10 times more. Because now I know how they met. And now I know how things happen. And now I can see... When you go back and watch the original trilogy and all the movies, even Force Awakens, you can now understand, like, if I go and watch that death scene again with him dying, I could now actually feel Chewie's anguish because I saw the origin of how they met and then watching their history together and them growing up. And for me personally, I just think I left this movie liking Han Solo so much more than I did before. And I just like how they pieced everything together and I just loved his take on the character, man. I just really enjoyed everything they did with it. I really did. I didn't leave disappointed with Han or his performance or any of the the major story elements. I didn't have an issue with. Few things to pick on, but nothing serious to make me hate the movie. Overall, I just really enjoyed the movie, and it's definitely another movie that I can't wait to watch again, because I will watch it again. It's just that fun for me. I wasn't sad or anything, because we already know how he's going to end up. I already knew the relationship with him and Kira wasn't going to be anything too serious for too long. Yeah. So I was like, I didn't care if they didn't get together, because he doesn't get together. That's not his girl. Leia's his girl. That's what it is. So
it's kind of like, when you think about it, it's kind of like the girl next door in like the typical movies, like, yeah. Oh, it's the one he's pining after, but it's not the one he belongs with.
It's not the ones he belong with.
Don't
worry, you got a whole princess coming up.
I gotta say, with Alden's performance, I really, really liked it, because if they decide to do a trilogy, which I really hope they do, I think that'd be fantastic. But if you do a trilogy, you would see where he starts off being naive and you would see his journey to becoming the Han Solo that we see in New Hope, where he's cynical, where he's a badass, and where he does learn to shoot first, kind of deal. And I think, honestly, that makes his character more full, because if you think about it, Han Solo starts off as a good guy, and he ends up as a good guy. And that period of time between New Hope and Jedi, where he learns to trust his friends, and he ends up fighting for them and fighting for the cause, it's less of, oh, he's just changed. It's just a character shift, like, oh, because of circumstances. It's more of a return to form for the character, This is where he started off, and he's learning to be like his old self again. I think that's really great.
Yeah.
If they decide to do a trilogy, and if they decide to explore that.
If they do a trilogy, man.
Even if they don't, you can see the beginnings of the Han that we know from New Hope, which I think is amazing.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, if they do a trilogy, and like you said, rightfully so, it would give the characters so much more depth, because you go back and watch the original trilogy and be like, okay, I relate. Like, I like this guy so much more now. Like, I understand him more. Like, I understand why he's this way. I get it now. Like, I'm one with him. I'm with him, man. Like, that's how it is. Like, and that's what I'm feeling. Because, like, right now, like, I just like Han Solo so much now. It's like, I can go back and, like, watch, A New Hope again and be like, yeah, I saw what happened, that awesome train fight that you never had, but you have it now. It's canon now. It's like, yeah, like, that's dope. So it's, I
gotta say, like,
I'm with it.
I don't have the perspective that you do with Han Solo. Like, I never, as a kid, growing up watching Star Wars, like, that was my holy Bible, like Star Wars and Indiana Jones. Like, those were my two movie franchises. And then Harry Potter was like my third. But, like, regardless, I was never really that big a fan of Han Solo. But I was always a fan of the relationship between him and Chewbacca, and between Chewbacca and Han with Lando. You know, I love their relationship. Even as a kid.
Let me actually add on to that for further clarification. Like what I meant with the whole Chewie thing, like I was, like you said, I was a huge fan of that. Like I liked the whole Chewie and Han thing and Lando thing, like when all three of them were together, and I've always been so curious as to their backstory and all that. So I did like that, but what I mean is that like I like it even more now, and I have a closer, because it's like you had this gap where you didn't see anything, but now you see how they met each other, and now you have an even deeper appreciation for their relationship more than you had before. So that's kind of like really what I meant.
That's kind of where I was going with my thing, is that as a kid, we didn't have Solo. It came out this year, you know? I got that relationship, where that came from the expanded universe. I saw Han Solo as an Imperial pilot who saw Chewbacca as a slave and threw away his basically his entire career to save this one Wookiee because he knew it was against his morals. You know, it didn't sit right with him. And then when I read the Thrawn trilogy as a kid by Timothy Zahn, that made me love Han Solo. And even like, you know, going as close as you know, Force Awakens and the new Star Wars comics with I think Jason Aaron wrote it back in the day. I don't know if he's still writing it, but the second arc they did where Han Solo picks up a lightsaber in like a giant gladiatorial arena and goes to town on stormtroopers with Leia and Chewbacca and Luke, and that was amazing. You know, like I found my appreciation for Han in the expanded universe and in the comics, in the books, like I'm sure a lot of people did, in the Han Solo trilogies, both of them that I read when I was a kid. You know, like that's where my appreciation for Han came from. And this movie, because it goes back and it takes so many of those elements. Like we get to see Han, maybe not as an Imperial pilot, but still in the Imperial Army, you know?
Yeah.
We get to see him free Chewie, although it's not as like emotional as it could have been, because it's more just like they need to escape together. It's more circumstance than morals, which I kind of took a little bit of an issue with. But like you get to see all these elements from the expanded universe, from the Clone Wars show, from Rebels, from everything. Like this movie, I gotta say, is the first time I'm watching a Star Wars movie, and as a fan, I feel rewarded for being a fan. You know, I'm seeing the Pike Syndicate. Like, what the hell? You know? And that goes way, like, I grew up on the Clone Wars TV show, you know? Seeing the Pike Syndicate, like, from that show, pretty much as they look in live action, that's so cool. Seeing Lando, like, a young Lando, playing Sabacc with Han, and, like, they ended up flipping the dynamic where it was always implied that Han cheated in the game of Sabacc that he won the Falcon with. And now it's Lando. It's all these little tiny tweaks and twists that they do. And it stands on its own, but it's still familiar, you know? And I love that. And that's why this movie to me is like, I wouldn't call it fan service, but it's like, it's rewarding because you all this time you put in as like a 5-year-old reading these books because there wasn't any other Star Wars, you know?
Yeah.
Like besides the prequels, like reading these characters and learning about their backstories and where they end up, like Chewbacca's death when he saves Anakin Solo from getting smashed by a giant moon, you know, like now, all this stuff is
which is not canon anymore.
Hey,
fortunately.
Hey, thankfully, because that sucked. Because Chewbacca was my favorite character as a kid, and they're like, well, he dies because he gets like slammed into a moon slams into him. And you're like, really?
Rip,
that's
Chewie.
Goes out. Okay. But like all this stuff, like you see it in the film.
Yeah.
They reference, like they bring back Darth Maul from the Clone Wars show and Rebels, and it's amazing. And like hearing the people in the theater like audibly gasp and like be confused. And I'm sitting there, I hear Sam Witwer's voice, and I lean over to my dad. I'm like, it's Darth Maul. And he's like, I know. And then everyone else is like, huh? Like that was incredible, you know, like knowing
that moment I was actually with well, because you had an advantage there that I didn't have. Like I didn't didn't remember because I didn't get that far in Clone Wars yet. Even when I was a kid, I never got that far in Clone Wars. But and now, for those of you guys who don't know, I'm rewatching the series. I just haven't had any time to upload reactions yet. But I'll get back to it once I'm done with My Hero. But I wasn't familiar with the voice, so I didn't pick on that because normally I pick on things like that if I know an actor, but I didn't know that. But what gave it away was the legs. I was like, nah. I was like, man, like, is this Maul? But like, nah, they ain't gonna do that. And then next thing you know, I saw the hood. I'm like,
oh my god.
I had to, like, honestly, I was sitting in the couch like this. I mean, the couch, theater room like this. And as soon as I saw Maul, I was like, like, I was, and crazy. I went at a time, it was like during the senior citizen time. So there's like a lot of senior citizens.
Early in the morning.
It wasn't too early. It was like early afternoon. But it was, a lot of kids were still in school at that time and all that stuff. So mainly I had a lot of senior citizens in the room. A couple of people around my age, but not too many. Mainly senior citizens. And this one guy, like, I guess he just got off work or something like that. He's about my dad's age, maybe he's 50s or so. And he's sitting, like, this guy had his whole row to himself. And he's just like leaning over. And then as soon as he saw Maul, everybody, it was so cool seeing these elders just so happy to see Maul. And one of the guys, you can tell he's probably about maybe 40 or so, probably grew up on watching the prequels like I did. And you know, he's like, he's sitting down there, and as soon as he saw Maul, everybody's like, oh my god. Everybody's like, oh my god. And then this one guy, the guy was sitting, he's just like, huh? Like, this literally, he just did this. I'm like, I'm like, that was me too. I was not expecting them to do that, and it was I was so happy to see Maul. At first, I thought it was his brother.
No, his brother.
And I was like, nah, I can't be him. It's actually him. I was like, nah, it's not his brother. That has to be Maul. Like, or maybe he's one of his other family members. I'm like, nah, that's him. It's him. Because like, I was fighting my brain from acknowledging that it was actually him. And then but you know, of course, when I saw the saber, obviously, you already knew it was him.
I gotta say, that's one of the things I kind of took issue with was that they used the saber because like
they always depend on the saber. Yeah.
Like, you can tell it's Maul, you know, just by his face. And, like, I feel like these new Star Wars films specifically, and the prequels are guilty of this too, don't get me wrong. But more so now, like, they follow a formula. And it's not like a story formula per se, but it's more just like elements that they have to put in, you know? You got to get Anthony Daniels in there because he's been in there since the beginning. So they, instead of putting C-3PO in like they usually do, they put a Wookiee in. You got to have, I got a bad feeling about this line. They flipped that on its head this time, you know, they did. I got a good feeling.
Yep. You got to have a droid. You got to have a leading droid.
There still hasn't been a Star Wars film that you don't show a lightsaber in. Sort of like, got to put the lightsaber in, and then they do, and it's like, but you don't really need that. Like, these things, I get it. I guess they're there for the fans that like that stuff. But like, when I hear, you know, like, I got a bad feeling about this, Chewie, I'm like, okay, cool, but did you really need to say that? Like,
yeah, I mean,
when they like the Rogue One was cool. Like when they're like, you don't expect Darth Maul, you don't expect Darth Vader to show up at the end of Rogue One and just murder rebels.
Yeah,
you know,
you didn't expect that, no.
But like this, it just seemed like it was like, well, we don't have a lightsaber, so just do it when Darth Maul shows up, I guess. Yeah, you know, like, you don't really need that. But
the thing is, even if he just pulled his saber, his force pulled his saber, but didn't ignite it, I would have been okay with that too.
I think it would have been better if he just, like, you know, did a little bit of the force choke.
Force choke on her. That would have been even better.
I think that would have been better. Like, it's more subtle, you know.
But does Darth Maul have that range though?
It does.
He does have that. Does he have that range? He does.
In Rebels, he does. He freaking like talks to
hologram force choke people.
He talks to Ezra from like planets away in Rebels without even having any type of hologram. Like, just he does like some freaky like whisper in your ear kind of thing.
So his force choke got that range. I don't know too much about.
Probably. I mean,
I haven't read too many Darth Maul stuff, so I don't know. So
if you can like implement like not visions per se, but like talk to people from a million miles away, I'm sure he could force choke someone.
Possible.
You know, like
because I knew Anakin, aka Darth Vader, could have done it because he's supposedly supposed to be the strongest, and then we found out that it was Luke actually. But it's like I knew why Darth could have done it, but look, whether Maul could have done it or not, I still would have been happy if they did that too. I mean, that would have been cool for me. But I mean, it was cool seeing Maul. I was not expecting that. But here now, since we're on the topic of Maul, though, my theory on with Kira is this, which is probably something that already exists already that I probably don't know about. But what I'm thinking is, I'm thinking that Maul brought Kira in, and she actually becomes a Sith. At least, even if she's not force sensitive, I do think she becomes sort of, because we do know that there's actually a stormtrooper, I forgot which one, his name, that Vader trains to use lightsabers, but he's not force sensitive at all.
Yeah, he's not force sensitive. He's just he's the guy from that story I was talking about where Han and Leia and Luke and Chewie all pick up lightsabers and fight stormtroopers in an arena. Yeah. He was undercover for years as like a Hutt's, like basically like trainer for the gladiator pits, and he learned to use a lightsaber because also like he had to know how to use one because the Hutt was like a Jedi memorabilia collector. Like he collected lightsabers and holocrons and like the Magna Guards from episode 3, you know, and all that stuff. But I don't see them going that way with Kira, but kind of going back to what you said with Han, you know, like saying like you like it now that you know where he ends up and seeing the beginning. Like you can kind of piece together that journey and it really works well. I don't think that works with Darth Maul.
Well, here's why I tell you. Here's why I say where my opinion is. I got this based off an article I read too, and someone else actually has a can't speak. Was a great point on this. The martial art that she mentions that she does.
Yeah, Teras Kasai.
Yeah.
Video game.
That
was really funny because I saw a video about that video game. Like way back in the day, like probably like 5 or so years ago, you know, It's like maybe even like going back as far as like when I was in middle school, because like I was always looking for like a new Star Wars game to play because they didn't hardly ever release any. And I looked up Teras and I found Teras Kasai, which is this stupid Star Wars fighting game, like Street Fighter, where you can play as Luke Skywalker and just smack people with your lightsaber stick because it sure as hell ain't a lightsaber. It's basically just a green glowing stick, kind of like in Force Unleashed, but like.
Yeah, but where the person was going with it was saying that
it's the same style
that Maul learned, and she mentioned that she got trained to do that. So people were thinking, okay, maybe even if she's not a Sith, maybe she because obviously she can't be a Sith, she's not force sensitive. It's not revealed to us that she's force sensitive. So maybe she could have been someone who
just like an assassin
from Maul that was trained to either use a lightsaber, I guess, to be an assassin, or even if she's not a lightsaber.
I don't see.
Yeah, even if she doesn't use a lightsaber, her being more like an assassin. Yeah. So, which is something I can see them doing for Kira, but the only thing I would be disappointed in is because remember, a character like Kira has not even been mentioned in Han Solo's history at all. I've never came across him mentioning. I don't know. You can remind me or just let me know because I don't know. But I've never, at least in the movies, based on my movie knowledge,
in the movies, no,
I've never seen him mention anything about an ex-lover that he was really in love with.
No, Han has a boatload of ex-lovers.
Exactly.
As far as the movies go, and because he hasn't been in any TV shows, so
yeah, I haven't.
They do not mention ex-lovers, but even in the recent comics, they introduced Han Solo's wife, like it's Sana Starros, and she's basically, spoilers for a 3-year-old comic. She essentially was she married Han to like as part of like a gig, you know, like they were basically doing it to fake out this one dude that they're robbing. So like they had a fake wedding, and she just kind of wanted his stuff back. Like I think he ended up like bolting with her share. Yeah. So it's like she was like, I'm Han Solo's wife, and every time he tried to explain to Leia, she's like, I don't care. Like, once we're done with this, once she gets us out of here, Usana can take him and go somewhere far away, and it was hilarious. Like, but yeah, they didn't really ever mention a lover in the movie. They never mention a lover in the movies. Never in the TV shows. In the comics, yes. In the books, yes. There's a ton of them.
But not a strong, not somebody that he was overly passionate like Kira, like, oh, she's my first love.
First love, I'm not sure about, but he's definitely had lovers in the past that he's been very passionate about.
Yeah, I wouldn't doubt that. I mean, I expect that. I expect that to happen. I expect that to be a thing.
Because he's a ladies' man.
Yeah, exactly. I expect that to be a thing. Because my thing is, they develop Han and Kira as these very strongly emotionally bonded people, and my thing is,
she's gonna die.
Of course, she's gonna die.
She's gonna die.
But my thing is,
Han's probably gonna kill her.
My thing is, but that's where I would have an issue, right? Here's where I would have an issue. Is like, if they do a sequel and they bring Kira back as an assassin for Maul or something, right? And it's actually like a Han versus Kira thing, and he actually has to be the one to kill her. Don't you think that's something that he, would have brought up at some point in his history?
I don't think it would be.
You don't think he would bring up a major thing like, I had to kill my first love?
Solo, the only stuff he ever brings up, if we're talking purely movies, and even to a pretty big extent in the books, unless like it just comes up, like through like a circumstance of events, like someone from his past shows up, he's not going to talk about it. He talks about the stuff that he's able to boast about. If it's embarrassing,
that's true,
or bad, he doesn't bring it up. He's very much on the surface, like he's got to project the image, like he's this guy,
and only Chewie knows the truth.
Exactly,
because Chewie knows him for who he is.
Nobody understands Chewie half the time.
Exactly.
Later in the movies,
so it's like he's like, Han could completely be lying, and Chewie's just gonna be like,
yeah, Chewie's got that life debt, so
bro.
You
know that ain't true.
Chewie's
like, why are you lying?
He's like, I can't say anything. I know he's lying out his ass, but I just gotta sit here and listen.
That's probably one of the things that I liked about Force Awakens when they asked, he's like, wasn't he like some general or something? Chewie's like, he's like, I don't know. He's like, I don't really know. I don't know, because Chewie's that guy. But I mean, I besides the whole Maul stuff, I mean, and Lando too. There were parts where, and I love Donald Glover. I love his music. Everything about Donald Glover. I just love the guy. He's awesome. But the thing is, with Lando, he was very spot on with a lot of the mannerisms and how I imagine a younger Lando to be and what he would do. The only issue I had is there were certain parts when he was speaking, it sounded as if he was trying to imitate the accent very. It sounded like he was trying to force imitate it at certain parts, just little bit here and there. But I didn't make it. I didn't let it bother me because I liked his performance.
I didn't get that Lando at all, honestly, because beforehand I watched some of the interviews he did for the movie press tour and stuff, and his voice isn't that far off.
It's very similar. Yeah, very similar.
Like he's exaggerating it to kind of do like a bit of a Billy D, but it's not too exaggerated. It's something like you and I would do in D&D. It's still our voice. Yeah. So I didn't get that at all with him. I thought he was perfect. But just my last thing on the Maul thing. Yeah. Because I had one more thing. My one issue with Maul being in this film and possibly being in future films is that, like Han, we know where he ended. Yeah. But
gets chopped up by Obi-Wan.
The thing is,
because that's canon now, man.
I think Rebels ruins that.
Yeah, I mean it's canon. It's canon now. I mean, what you gonna do about it, man?
And here's
that's what it is.
Like, in that episode, you have 2 minutes interaction with Obi-Wan, and then they fight, and like it's another 2 minutes, and that's it. Exactly. That's it. He's gone.
2 hits. It's perfect. Done. It's so cool, but it's like rip. That's
that entire thing. If like you can't show that in a movie, because then guess what? You have to show the lead up to that with Ezra and Chopper, where they meet him in the desert, and it's like You can't do that in the film.
Can't.
Because fuck Rebels, because that show is not great. It has maybe 20 good episodes out of a lot, you know? So, like, that's why I thought it ruined it, because that was, like, forcing it in. And then if you want to do Maul, his ending is not like Force Awakens, where it's 30 years in the future. It's maybe like 9 years down the line, if even that. It's like 7 years away, you know? And so what are you going to do?
But
you can't even have Han really interact with him, and there can't be a definitive end between the three of them.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Luke wasn't even born yet. I mean, Luke was a kid. Luke was a kid, right?
Luke's like, if Han's 20, Han's like 10 years older than Luke. So
no. I mean, like in Rebels, when at the end when Obi-Wan was on Tatooine, when Maul dies, was Luke like a little kid, or was he like
he's like a teenager?
Teenager. There you go. So he's a kid. He's a kid. As a kid, man. He's a kid. So like, I don't know. He doesn't even get to experience post-original trilogy stuff.
Yeah, and like also you gotta think like Han Solo, like, can he even interact with Maul if they do him in a future film? You know?
Exactly.
Because you're not going to get a definitive end. Either it's going to end up one of two ways. Either Han Solo runs away, or Darth Maul runs away.
Which he always does.
Like, it's going to be one of the two.
Yeah.
Like, you can't have a definitive end. Like, Han Solo shoots Darth Maul. No, because
you can't have that.
Kills Darth Maul.
Yeah, you can't have that.
If you decide to go the Obi-Wan route, you know,
you got to do all this lead up to it.
Can't have a definitive end, because you're not gonna fucking put Ezra and Chopper in the stupid movie. What they're gonna end up doing is it's gonna be, if they do Obi-Wan, I'm gonna guess it's gonna be like Obi-Wan is like, oh, Maul's still around, and he goes to find him, and then they fight, and then again they both run away.
Yep. Like,
that's the thing that ruins it, because you gave them a definitive end in a mediocre kids TV show. Unless you're retconning that, there's no way around it. Which they're not gonna.
They're not gonna retcon.
They're not gonna retcon.
It's known as official canon now.
It is,
and they can't just destroy. It's like going back and saying, "Oh, New 52 is not canon anymore."
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Like, you can't do that. Like
DC tried to do that. They're like, "Oh, pre-New 52 is not canon anymore." And then guess what? Rebirth comes around. They're like, "Yeah, but some of the
guess what? It is. Yeah,
some of the stuff is. What stuff? We don't know.
We don't know.
You can't do that again.
Nope.
Because you just did it. You erased everything, you know, and you started over with these new
things. Oh, New 52. We want to start everything over again and completely forget the past. We're moving to the future.
But just kidding. 5 years later, it's like, some of the stuff still works though, so we'll use that. Like,
yep, and we're gonna keep it. Oh yeah, wait a minute. The Flashpoint stuff, we'll keep that. We'll put that into effect.
Turns out you're just actually forgetting about 5 years of time.
5 years of time. Exact. Oh my. You see, now we're going on to a different discussion. That pissed me off so much when I found that out, dude. I was reading it. I was like, wait a minute, what?
I was honestly kind of
why are they good? But I was honestly. But that's the best way they could have done this.
Dude, I'm just kind of like, good, because
I'm like, oh, Batman. Oh, Wally comes in and is like, no, wait a minute, Batman. Like, you know me. You know me, Bruce. Lois is the king.
Who the fuck was that guy?
Who is he?
Why is there lightning in my cave?
Bruce, you know me, man. It just turns out someone removed our memory.
Like, honestly, I'm glad they went that way, though. You know, because like,
the way how they did it. Anyways, yeah.
Going back to the Maul thing.
Yeah.
They did. Here's the thing. There's another end for Maul in the expanded universe. It's in this little book called Star Wars Visionaries.
I ain't canon no more.
But it's not canon.
Which is disappointing to hear.
They did the exact same thing, Matthew, except way cooler.
What, with Obi-Wan killing him?
Yes. Maul shows up on Tatooine, and he's like, I know about Luke. I'm gonna go murder him. So he goes to the homestead, and Owen Lars is there. He comes out with like a rifle and tries to stop Maul, and Maul just wrecks his ass, throws him to the side. He's gonna murder the family. Obi-Wan shows up. And he has the General Grievous legs that he has in the beginning of Clone Wars after he loses the spider ones.
Okay.
And they fight, and Obi-Wan kills Maul in front of like a young Luke, or like Luke's inside the house, you know.
Interesting.
And like he doesn't know about it, but like Owen's outside, but Beru is like hiding Luke in the house, and he's like, never come back here. And that's the reason why, Obi-Wan isn't allowed near Luke. It's because of that, because he brought Maul to come kill them, And it works so much better than, look, Ezra and Chopper walking through the desert. Oh, look, it's Obi-Wan Kenobi. What are the chances on this entire planet full of sand? And he's dead.
But, hey, but like, the two swipe kill was beast though. That was dope.
Cool,
that was cool. That was dope.
Is a throwback to some Akira Kurosawa samurai films.
That was dude. Like, that was some OP.
That was incredible.
That was some OP Obi-Wan, man. Dude was like, man.
That's literally like you're calling back to literally the inspiration for Star Wars, which is
I saw someone actually explain that how Obi-Wan was able to just beat him in that way. I saw someone make a really cool explanation video, and they were like, and I actually rewatched the two scenes again. I'm like, it makes sense. Basically, he was saying, I don't know if you heard the explanation, but he was saying that that Maul was doing a signature move that he killed Qui-Gon Jinn with, and the same move that he used to kill him, Obi-Wan remembered it and knew that he was going to do that move, so that's how he was able to evade it and kill him.
Really cool.
So I was like, the guy explained it in the video, and I was like, yo! And I rewatched the scenes, and I went back to when he killed Qui-Gon, and I'm like, okay. I'm like, that is the same move that he was about to use on Obi-Wan in Rebels. Awesome. And I was like, that's literally the same move. And he's like, Obi-Wan remembered the move. And I was like, not today. Yeet! Boom! He just killed him. Like, that's what it was. So I thought that was dope. That's probably what I thought it was dope about it.
Last thing I gotta say about Maul is just like,
and we do have to wrap the video up actually, because you've been talking about an hour.
We're gonna talk about a couple things.
Yeah.
But like, last thing I gotta say about Maul is just that sucks because you can't use him to his full potential.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Unlike Han Solo, where you have the time to expand on that character.
You can have him kill a few. You can have him kill a few droids and soldiers and crap, but that's about it.
Yeah, but you can't have him do anything substantial because he's got to be a hermit in a couple years.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know.
Can't do it. Unfortunately,
his empire is gonna fall down. He's gonna have to run away, and we know where that ends up.
Yeah.
I kind of hope that it's Obi-Wan that ends up destroying the Empire instead of like the Crimson Dawn, the Shadow Collective, instead of Han. Just because I think that would work better tonally.
I would like to see Edwin in one of these movies just make a cameo and be like, "Hey, I found you." Maul's like, "No," he runs away. you again. Yeah, man.
I think we should wrap this up by talking about two things. Actually, three things. Three last things. One, we should probably talk about how we rank this film among our Star Wars ones, right?
Okay. Mm-hmm.
And we should probably talk a little bit more about the music because we said we were gonna.
Yeah. And
then we should probably end it by talking about future movies. Like, they just announced the Boba Fett film.
Yeah.
And they've said they're talking about doing a Lando film, and now more than ever, Kenobi seems like it's gonna be greenlit.
Possibility, yeah.
So I think we should talk about those things. So,
okay, you go ahead, man.
First things first.
What would you rank? Well, you want to do soundtrack first?
Yeah, I feel like that's the easiest one to do.
Okay.
Soundtrack, honestly, like you, the music drew me into this movie. Like, it really did. Except for me, the music that drew me into this movie was, again, the trailer music. And I feel like those trailers really encapsulate what you're getting in this film, which is great, because that's what a great trailer should do. It feels tonally right. You get exactly what you know exactly what you're getting into, and the music really fits it. Again, I'm fine if you don't want to use that music for your movie, but just include it in the soundtrack. I don't see why that can't just be a bonus track when you buy the album. Like, seriously, it makes no sense. You paid for someone to make this. Just put it at the bottom of the album. Call it a bonus track. Like, and again, like the latest movies, there's only one theme that I can actually remember saying that I like, It's the Cloud Riders theme. Marauders Arrive is the one I'm talking about.
You don't like the solo theme that John Williams made?
Here's the thing.
It's very memorable, man.
Again,
that's what drew me
John
into it.
Williams does not have a lot of ideas anymore, and that solo theme is very, very similar to the Rey theme.
I'll listen to it again.
In my opinion, it's pretty similar.
I'll listen to it again. I'll do a comparison.
In the same way that the Resistance theme is very similar to the Separatist theme from the prequels. So,
what I'll do is I'll take both tracks and I'll actually open Logic Pro and look at the notes and like actually listen to it. I want to see it physically. I'll listen to it again. I'll take your word for it. I'll listen to it again. See if I leave with the same experience. But yeah,
like I don't know, like these soundtracks every time. Like Rogue One is probably the worst soundtrack they've released so far, in my opinion. I'm not a fan of it. Force Awakens, the only song I like was Rey's theme.
Yeah.
In Last Jedi, I like 2 songs. I like Peace and Purpose, and I like the Canto Bight theme, which I honestly think is better than the Cantina theme. And in this one, the only memorable one for me is Marauders Arrive, because that one stands out. When they show up on their swoop bikes during the train heist, I'm like, okay, who are these dudes? Show me more of them. And
when I heard it, and I was listening to it again in the gym, and I was like, I didn't see the title of it, and that's how you know it's powerful, because I didn't see the title of it when it was in my pocket. But when I heard it, I'm like, this is the scene when the Marauders came on the train, and this is what it has to be. And I look at the name of it. There you go. I'm like, that's what it was.
The rest of the soundtrack, it just blends together to me. It's just background noise, in my opinion.
Well,
there's nothing. There should be more than one distinct theme in your movie. I should be able to, like, if there's a good soundtrack, like, you know, we're talking Man of Steel soundtrack, you know, or the Wonder Woman soundtrack. There are songs in there, probably about 5 or 6 songs out of like maybe a 12 or 14 long soundtrack. At least 5 or 6 songs in there that I can name just here in the first minute of, you know,
of course,
not even first 30 seconds. In solo, I can do that with one song. That to me is not memorable, and
I mean,
that song is really great.
I can give an answer for it. Doesn't mean it saves it, but it gives more of an explanation as to what they're doing, which is what unfortunately a lot of composers are doing with their movies now. But even Hans Zimmer talked about this in his classes. This is something he does a lot, and he does this a lot for certain projects, but it just depends. What it is, they view where, okay, let me break it down this way. The score, and some movies, on rare occasions, you would find that the score is a film in itself, or it's a story in itself. It's a thing in itself where every song is different, tells its own story, and you look at certain, you know, soundtracks that do that. Whereas now what they're doing, and that's why I really like Ludwig Göransson, who did the Black Panther soundtrack. A lot of the songs and a lot of the soundtrack, I've listened to that soundtrack so many times, and at least 6 or 7 of the songs on there are memorable to me. I love so much. I like Ludwig Göransson, even the Creed soundtrack that he did. Ludwig Göransson does a great job in producing, composing, conducting, everything. He does an all-around great job. And what he did, especially for the movie Everything, is a similar approach, but unfortunately, what a lot of people are doing now, especially because it saves a lot of time and it actually saves a lot of things, and it's actually a lazy thing to do. But can
I say what I think it is?
Sure, yeah.
Because I think I know what you're talking about. Is it when a director steps in and says, "I want the music to sound like this," and then they basically just base it off another film's music? Because that's been happening a lot with films.
Yes and no. That in addition to the fact where they want, instead of a 14-track soundtrack being a different story or a story going from start to finish, it's more like this 14-track is just one major theme. And that's what they're doing for a lot of movies now. I'm not saying it's a good thing, but that's unfortunately what the explanation is. Because as I was listening to the soundtrack, while I liked the instrumentation of a lot of this, and I love the conducting style, because every conductor and composer has different conducting styles, and I like the conducting style. What's something that you call a motif? Hans Zimmer uses motifs a lot, where he would have the dum dum. That's the Man of Steel motif, dum dum, and you would hear that being implemented in different tracks, but also adding other things on top of it, right? They took it to another step further, where they would be like, okay, well, every song's gonna have this Han Solo theme, which I think is fun. I think is great, and I like it. I was whistling up to this morning, and you have that one motif, and you bring it throughout every single track. And that's what it is. Because, like, hey, with the exception of 2 or 3 songs, maybe 3 at the max. Maybe 3 at the max. You're like, besides these 3 songs, pretty much every track is a copy of the main of the first theme song, within a couple additional note changes here and there, or a melody change here and there that kind of blends in with the action in the movie. And unfortunately, that's what's going on in a lot of movies now. It's very lazy, and it's not really creative, and it's not really great.
Consistency,
exactly. Then they, and that's what and. Because remember, the movies are being made faster now than they were before. And composers are given the hard task of like, okay, well, here, look, post-production's done. You now have 1 month to compose a score and get it, because we want to get this movie in the theaters a month after you finish this. We need to get this in the mastering booth. We need to get this back to the studio for you to master this and get it, because we want this to be out. We want this to be released in 2 months. So you only have a month to work on a score now, whereas before, certain movies, a lot of directors, like for instance, that's why I love Christopher Nolan. I know I'm talking a lot, but that's why I love Christopher Nolan. Christopher Nolan is that director. He does not care how long it takes you to get something done. He will sit down, and most directors do this too. Even Patty Jenkins did this. Most directors don't do this, but you're supposed to do this. They teach you this in if you go to any film school, they teach you this. Directors are supposed to be involved in every, not almost, but every aspect of the filmmaking process. Editing, the score, everything. Set design, they're supposed to be there.
Everything.
On set, from beginning to end. Writing, pre-production, mid-production, post-production. They're there for everything. And a lot of directors don't do that anymore. And
especially with the big Disney films, because a lot, I mean, you look at a movie like Avengers, you know, most of that stuff isn't directed by the Russo brothers, especially the action sequences. It's directed by a second unit. And you also have, you know, especially in a film like Solo, where there were a huge amount of reshoots, you know, at least to our knowledge. We don't know what happened, but to my understanding, there are a decent amount of reshoots. And what that means is when they go to do the score, they have a lot less time than they would have before.
And that's exactly what I'm getting to as well. It's like, you have a director like Chris Nolan. For every movie he's done, from Interstellar to Dunkirk to The Dark Knight, to every single film that he's done with Hans Zimmer, he was on the plane. Hans Zimmer talked about this in his classes. He's on the plane. Like, they would literally finish filming, and then 2 days later, he's calling Hans Zimmer, all right, bro, let's go to work. He was there for everything. He goes, he flies to the studio, he sits down with him, discusses the story, tells him what I want. This is my story, and this is what I want you to take and make this into something. And Hans Zimmer will be like, okay, cool, I got this. We'll work on this together, and that's how you do it. And
what it comes
that's how you're supposed to do it.
Yeah.
Not be like, not like you show up one day and like, okay, well, you have 3 weeks to get this done. Get it done. Okay, I'm gone.
Like this. Here's some notes. There I go. Like, what it comes down to is essentially, films aren't especially these big ass Disney films, just franchise films in general. Yeah. They aren't necessarily the visions of the directors anymore.
Nope.
They are filmed by committee. They are factory. They're basically, it's a film factory. You put the script in, out pops a movie, you know, like and when you have, you know, problems like they had with Chris Lord and Phil Lord and Chris Miller, one of the Lord and Miller, the directors of Solo. Okay. The original directors of Solo.
They switched it out and brought in Ron Howard after, right?
And a lot of the problems come from, you have to bring in a ghost director, essentially. You know, he's only directing probably about, if even, maybe 20% of the film.
And he got credit too.
That's the thing. And
he got credits.
In the Directors Guild, I believe it's the Film Guild, or whatever the hell it's called.
SAG.
If someone directs 90% of a film, then they are by law supposed to be allowed to, you know, do the post-production.
Mm-hmm.
As long as they direct 90% of film, they are involved in post-production, they're involved in editing, they're involved in everything once initial filming is done.
And they're supposed to get credits too.
Exactly, they get credit.
Why do you
which
think
is why Gareth Edwards, or the director of Rogue One, got credit, even though you had this basically off-the-shelf director just come in and did reshoots for Rogue One.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't get credit because Gareth Edwards directed 90% of principal photography, and that's why they had to kick out Lord and Miller, because they were nearing that mark, and they brought in Ron Howard, and he finished up the rest of the film.
And why do you think?
And that's why he got credit.
Why do you think Justice League?
The same thing with Justice League.
The same thing with Justice. Even though he got Zack Snyder actually was pretty much done with Justice League, and they pretty much reshot everything.
But it doesn't matter,
everything.
It's not.
But the thing, exactly, and that's why Zack got the credit and all the low blows too. He got the credit for something he didn't put out. And that sucks.
Reshoots and pickups don't count. It's all in the principal photography, which is why Zack Snyder is the director of Justice League. That's why Gareth Edwards is the director of Rogue One.
Yep.
And that's why Ron Howard is the director of Solo, and that goes back to, you know.
And I like Ron Howard. He's cool.
I do too. But like, these films are factories. There is little passion, and they don't do films the way they're supposed to anymore. Like, you don't have a director like Mel Brooks who goes in and edits his movies and does the score, or like John Carpenter, you know, like the guy was involved in everything. He wrote the scores for his films. Like, you don't get that anymore, because they want these movies. They announce these movies before they've even gotten a script out.
Yep. They
greenlight them, and they're shown to the public. We announced Solo. Here it is. Do you have a script?
Hollywood and the film industry has always been a business. But now it's more business than it is anything else. Because before, it was always about the story. It was always about what the director wanted to tell. What he want to say. And now it's just like, hey, well, I can't make this movie now because my creativity doesn't match up to high numbers.
Exactly.
My creativity doesn't make $1.2 billion in the box office in 2 weeks.
Disney says, we want to do a Solo movie. That's what's going to happen.
That's what's going to happen. Whether it's good or not, they're going to make it. They're going to make money because they know they have hardcore fans.
Solo movie. Here's what it is. We're going to do a Solo movie. Hire someone to write it. Hire someone to direct it.
It's like this, and it's like even if we go into which I don't want to get too deep into this because this brings another conversation, but like Birds of Prey, right? Like Birds of Prey is already greenlit, and they don't even have a director. They had someone who wrote the story, but they didn't even have a director. It's like this is one of the things I hate. Like, how you get a writer before you get a director? I don't get that. I don't get that. The director, in my opinion, even if he co-writes a story with a specific writer, the director is supposed to be the person who chooses that writer. And even if
he gets the big credit.
Exactly.
You know, directed by. That's the first thing in every.
It's like you
movie.
have some random girl comes in and writes Birds of Prey. She leaves, and now you have to find a director to direct a story that he didn't even write. And it's like it's so stupid, man. I don't get that. A director is supposed to know everything and be like, this is my story, and even if I'm writing it with you, this is our story, and even if you're writing the story and I'm not even touching the pen and paper, I have to agree. I have to agree with your story. I have to like what you're saying.
The film industry is like comparing the film industry now to back in the 80s and the 70s and the 60s and going way back even. Actually, no, going way back it was a factory, but like compared to the 70s and the 80s, and even to a degree the 90s.
That was the bloom of creation, man.
Like these, in the 60s especially, like
these,
it's like comparing chain restaurants, you know, like to a mom and pop restaurant.
Yeah.
You don't get the love and care and dedication. It's just hire people to do a job. We'll put out mediocre stuff. It doesn't matter if we care about it. You know?
Get the cash flow. Exactly. That's all we care about.
It's a business instead of a passion project.
It's like not like Disney planned all this movies they're making this year. They planned this years ago. Like, okay, well, look, 2018, we need to make big bucks, bro. We're gonna have Infinity War. We're gonna have Black Panther. We're gonna have Solo. We're gonna have Ant-Man and the Wasp. We're gonna have Mowgli is Warner Brothers this year. We're gonna have what else Disney's doing this year? They did something else. Oh, Wrinkle in Time. Even though it didn't perform well, they still made money off of it opening night. It's like, if you were to even think about the amount of money that, oh wait, they get no, Captain Marvel is next year, and that's next year. So it's like they're cashing in, and so they don't even. You think Bob Iger cares about creativity?
No.
He's like, no, look, I'm gonna own a subsidiary. Let them handle that stuff. Let me get the money. I don't care. Yeah. Look, I want this movie I want to make 6 movies this year. Do something about it. Good. I'm gonna go to Hawaii. Do something about it.
That's why you got the Russos directing Avengers. You know.
Yeah. I mean,
you pick people who are.
I like the Russos.
I'm not a fan, but you pick people who are efficient, not people who are passionate.
Yeah, I like the Russos, man. But yeah,
so let's talk about, I guess, the ranking, right?
Ranking. Yeah, we can do ranking and then close it up.
And we'll close it up with talking about the new films.
Yeah.
You go first, buddy. I got my list here.
Oh, you got a list? I didn't have
a list. I made a tweet.
Well, amount of, you said it with all the Disney Star Wars stuff.
No, if you want to do Disney first and then do just a general one, you can.
Okay. Well, I think I can get that out of my. I think I can get that out of my head. For the Disney Star Wars stuff, right now this is number 1 for me.
Okay.
Solo is number 1 for me. Rogue One is a number 2 definitely for me, because I can watch Rogue One over again and be happy with what I get. Rogue One is also a very good one for me. Third would have to be The Force Awakens, and lastly
Last Jedi
is The Last Jedi. And I have a little picky thing with it, because there's things I like about Force Awakens and things I hate about it, and things I like about Last Jedi and things I don't like about Last Jedi. So it's kind of I would put them on an even ground for me, because I can't fully form a full opinion on those 2 movies yet until I see the last one. So I can't really make a full opinion on them yet. I just know that I 50% like both of them, and a 50% hate both. It's like,
I feel the same way with those.
Films. I like them. I like things about them, but I also dislike things about them.
Great ideas, not great execution.
Not great execution.
Sometimes great execution, not so great ideas.
Yeah.
A case in point: Star Killer Base and Canto Bight.
Yeah.
You know. Actually, no, those were poor execution.
But I liked
as well.
But I liked poor ideas for Star Killer Base, because it was just a copy of the thing.
Third time.
Mm-hmm. As far as the overall ranking for my all-time favorite Star Wars movies, I actually have to write it. I have to write it down so I can visually see it real quick. It's not gonna take me long.
I can stall for you.
It's not. Mine, I guess. Yeah, you can go over yours actually. Your Disney era first.
Disney era first. I'm gonna say Rogue One at the top right now.
Okay.
Mainly because I haven't seen Solo second time, and Rogue One still holds up for me for the most part, with the exception of a couple things. Like, I don't like the way they introduce their characters to one another.
With Solo?
No, with Rogue One.
With Rogue One, okay.
Where they're like, "Hi, you there in the crowd. I am Chirrut Imwe, blind, not really Jedi, but kinda like."
Hey you.
Oh, it's. Who is that in the cell next to us? Is that the pilot?
Like, yeah, that was a little bit too convenient.
That kind of stuff, I'm like, all right, guy, calm down. That's 2 on the nose for me. But that film is still really great. It's one of the few films, I think one of the 2 films I've ever seen twice in theaters.
Mm-hmm.
So that's really up there for me. Solo's right underneath it, because I love almost everything about it, you know, except, like I said, the Cloud Riders and their random, like, rebels at the end.
Yeah.
And
we're rebels. And they always have that accent. We're rebels.
Like,
join the rebellion.
That film is fun and great, and the only other problem I actually have with that, now I think about it, is like at the beginning of the movie they're like, Solo. I'm like, really?
Yeah, that was just random. I was like,
I'm like, I know I'm here to see the movie.
Yeah.
It's on the thing outside. Like, you don't have to put down the film.
Brandon, what did you think about L3? Did you like L3? I loved L3.
L3 was great.
L3 was fun.
Honestly, when she died and Lando was sad and like the ship was blowing up, Like that was the most powerful moment for me in the entire film.
That's probably the most sad droid death for me. Cause like,
yeah, honestly,
like C-3PO, I never cry for him because he always comes back.
You know, it makes sense because like C-3PO when he's talking to the Falcon, he's like, "The fuck are you?"
Yeah, exactly.
You whack ass.
Like, she's in the ship now.
Oh my! Like that.
She's like, I don't know, just go liberate your brothers and sisters or something.
And he's like, no, I'm fine being a slave. It's cool. Like,
it's cool. And they were like, I found my true purpose.
that was incredible. Like
L3 was cool.
Lando,
L3 was cool.
You know, running after L3 and getting shot was the best part of the film for me.
Yo, Lando was doing straight up hardcore, bro. Parkour. I'm like, dang, bro. Lando got the hops, bro. You should be playing for the NBA. This man's like jumping all over the place. Daggone, man should have been a quarterback. Man should have been a linebacker, man. Just running back or something. Like, dang.
The guy's athletic.
Hold on, real quick. I just remember this. Did you see the SNL sketch when he was like, where all the black people in the in the universe? When I was watching the movie, I'm like, when they went to the scene where they were getting the coilac, what was it, coaxial or whatever it's called again, the coaxial.
Coaxium?
Yeah, coaxium. Yeah, when they were getting it mined or forged or whatever. I'm like, whoa, this is where all the black people are. I was like literally, I was like thinking, literally, it took me back to that sketch. I'm like, whoa, so here's where all the black people are. Awesome. Oh my God, that's amazing. That's immediately what I thought about.
The only two other things that I didn't like about the movie are minor. I gotta say, like, I think it would have been cooler seeing just straight up the Empire chasing Han and the Falcon during the Kessel Run instead of like a giant space tentacle monster.
Yeah, that was why
like,
is this?
Okay.
They just wanted to add a monster to make another plush toy.
Yeah.
Like, just one other plush toy. Let's add a monster.
Like, and
bro, merchandise. Disney needs the merchandise.
The merchandise.
The merchandise.
The only other thing I thought was kind of dumb was like, Sabak has always used not just cards but also the dice, which is kind of why.
I was surprised why they didn't include
building
that.
it up in every single, like, the dice were only in, you know, like New Hope, and they're just there. Like, no one, it was just a little thing there.
No one notices it really.
No one knows. I didn't notice them, like, hardly ever, like, except in like one still. So like, but then, you know, Force Awakens comes around and they're there prominently, and then Last Jedi, they're a huge part of the story. And like the whole thing in Legends was always like, oh yeah, those are the dice that won Han Solo the Falcon. And the thing is, like, maybe they're weighted. That's how he cheated to win the game, you know. But now it's dice now. I guess now
it just means good luck, and which will explain why Luke gave it to Leia in return in Last Jedi, because it's like, okay, well, now this is the backstory. Now it's canon. Now it just supposedly means good luck.
At the same time, like, I kind of like the original little story for that, but it's fine.
It's fine. It's the little things, man.
Under that, I gotta say, I'm gonna say Last Jedi. Mainly because of the stuff they did with Luke.
Yeah.
Luke and Rey in that movie, in my opinion,
after reading this, buddy, right here, makes you even more pissed.
It was so well done. I loved it. I love the stuff they did with Luke. I know a lot of people don't share that opinion with me, but I think it makes sense. Specifically because you think about it, Luke is like a farm boy. He didn't choose to be a hero. It was thrust upon him, you know?
Yep.
He only chose to be a hero when his home was taken away from him. And then after, you know, destroying the Death Star and fighting Darth Vader and helping kill the Emperor,
kind of grew on him.
He's the biggest guy in the universe. And that's gotta, after a while, that's gotta, you know, take some tolls on you. The amount of people you lose, you know, just the pressure in general, and that I understand where that would be coming from, where like you kind of would want to shut yourself away after having to deal with that, and especially after, you know, the failure of his trying to remake the Jedi, you know, he couldn't live up to Yoda's and Obi-Wan's Jedi. He couldn't even live up to the little teachings that they gave him, you know. It all came crumbling down. I think that worked really well, but like, of course,
Let's not talk about the awesome memes, the sacred texts.
By the way, Ray saved those things. So
I know. No. It's like I saw
he got them in a drawer in the Falcon.
I saw that. I was like, when you saw, I was like, I saw this meme.
Secret text.
I saw this meme.
I got it.
Oh my god!
That was the first time in the movies where I really, really liked Yoda.
Yeah. I
was never a fan of Yoda as a kid. I was never.
I always really liked Yoda though. I thought he was dope.
I didn't. Like, even in the Clone Wars, I liked him, but like in that movie, like I understand why people like Yoda now. You know?
Yeah.
Because of that scene. And then lastly, I'd say The Force Awakens because like again, it's just retreading and more retreading the same stuff. I really like the stuff they did with the characters, you know? But in terms of plot elements, and it's a film that I only like when I'm watching it. When I think about it afterwards, I'm not a fan, you know? I can't, I don't know. That film's not great for me.
I'm almost done. I'm sorry. I was just writing the numbers. Yeah, sorry.
Right. So while you're still going, I guess I should give you my actual list, huh?
Yeah.
Are you doing it in like ascending order, like best to worst or worst to best, or
I'm gonna do worst to best.
Okay.
Hold on. What? I'm almost done. Like literally.
Come on, Matthew. You should have had this pre-planned. Jeez.
I didn't know you were trying to rank the whole daggone franchise. Like, I gotta.
Not that many films. It's 10 films.
But I didn't even know that you were trying to do that. You should have told me that. I would have did it.
No, it's actually 11 films.
Yeah. Okay, I have completed my mission.
You ready?
I am ready.
Right, you go first.
Me first, but this is bound to change because I did it in a hurry and didn't have too much time to think too much about it. But for right now, this will always be my worst Star Wars film, and that is The Phantom Menace. I don't like that film. I rewatched it again the other day, and I just don't like it. No matter how much I rewatch it, I just don't like it, okay? Jar Jar is the worst part, and he's annoying as hell, and that's the reason why I don't like it. Number 9, I put The Last Jedi. And I know why. The reason I put The Last Jedi, because I'm an original trilogy fanboy, and that will never change, okay? All right, so Last Jedi, I put that as 9, even though there's a lot of issues writing and acting wise with the original trilogy, but it's okay. We'll forgive it, okay? It's 70s and 80s. We'll leave it alone, okay? George Lucas wasn't great when it came to writing dialogue and screenplay. Number 8, I got The Force Awakens. For now. Number 7, I put A New Hope. There's things that hold up. Wait. There's things that wait. For now,
I'm waiting for this explanation.
Hold up. It may not make a good one. It may not make sense now.
Have a good one.
It may not make sense now. Hold up. Hold on. I gotta switch one thing around. Hold on. No. I gotta switch one thing. Actually, no. Number 6. Hold up. Hold on. I'm actually gonna switch this around.
All right.
I'm actually going to put Attack of the Clones is number 7.
Okay.
I'm going to put for number 6. Number 6 I'll put A New Hope.
All right.
Number 5 I will put Return of the Jedi. Number 4 I will put Empire. That will always be my favorite of the 3. Out of the original trilogy, Empire is my favorite. I really love Empire.
I don't take that stance.
I really love Empire. And number 3, I have Rogue One.
Okay.
Number 2, I have Solo. And number 1 is Revenge of the Sith. And I'll tell you why. Revenge of the Sith is my absolute favorite. For one reason, and one reason only. And I told you this before. For one reason and one reason only. It is my first ever Star Wars film that I've ever seen.
That's right.
And when I watch it, it has Revenge of the Sith has some of the coolest choreography I've ever seen for Star Wars lightsaber fights. And when I was a kid, that's one of the things I loved about Star Wars, the lightsaber fights, because that's the first thing I saw. And I was like, oh, this is cool. Me and my cousin outside playing with tree sticks like if it's lightsabers. And it's like, every time I see it, it reminds me of being a kid. And it reminds me of how much I really... Granted, I admit the writing and acting cringiness from Hayden Christensen at points. We're not going to talk about his attack of
stuff he does when he's turning into Darth Vader. You know, when he has the yellow eyes.
Yeah,
it's fantastic.
Great.
But it's just, I think it's more of a circumstance of the writing than anything
of
else.
course. It's just
and the directing,
improper script to work with, and it's like directing. We're not going to talk about Attack of the Clones, and he's like, "I love you. You're the only thing the only thing that matters to me." It's like we're not gonna talk about that awkward profession of love, and it's just like, I mean, I acknowledge those issues, I do, because as an adult now, I watch them and I recognize them for what it is. And let's not forget, even a guy roasted Yoda about this. Yoda was, after he fought Palpatine, he was like, "Bodied I was. Yeet, I must go. Yeet, I must." So it's like, at the end, it's like, he got bodied by Palpatine and was like, yeet, and he just left. So it's like, bodied I was, yeet I must, and he just left. So it's like, okay, like, we get that stuff, I get it, I know all the issues with it, I do, and I recognize them, and I'm not going to argue it and try to defend it, because they're there. But as a personal favorite, and just as an enjoyable thing for me, I try to put my feelings aside, like, my critical side aside when I'm watching Revenge of the Sith, because it's just my favorite, my childhood favorite, and it will always be #1 for me, man. That's not going to change anytime. So yeah, so that's my list, man. That's what I can come up with for now. It's going to change around some numbers a little bit here and there, but that's about it. Yeah.
All right, so I cheated a little bit on my list. Not gonna lie, I added in some stuff. I went that probably shouldn't be on there.
Yeah.
Not gonna lie. So I have 15 instead of 10.
Nah. You gotta do 10, bro.
No, wait, it gets better, because I'm gonna throw some shade here with certain films. So number 15 for me was god awful freaking Ewok movies that were like direct to VHS, which I found in my Best Buy as a kid. I was like, oh shit, it's more Star Wars. And my mom hated Star Wars, but she was like, fine. I chose like 10 movies. I guess you could get 2. So I rented those things, and I hated them. They're awful. They're literally the worst things ever. And oh man,
you don't tell me you included the Clone Wars animated movie?
Of course I did.
Oh, of course you did.
That came out in theaters, Matthew. That's a Star Wars movie. That's as much of a Star Wars movie as Rogue One was.
Yeah, and Teen Titans Go came out in the theaters too. And look what's going on.
That's the first Teen Titans movie that came out theatrically, so that counts. But, and also that's a decent movie. All right, so number 14, I'm putting the Holiday Special.
Never seen it.
It's so bad I laugh my ass off, but it's also like the most cringy thing I've ever seen in my life. So that's number 14 for me. Number 13 is Force Awakens, because like I said, I do not like that film.
Yep, I'm with you, bro.
I only ever like it when I'm watching it, and afterwards I despise it, because it seems so lazy.
Yep.
They're like, this is the first one. This is going to set the precedent for the rest of our movies we put out. I'm like, okay.
No.
Number 12 is, funnily enough, not actually Star Wars, but I still kind of count it, because as a kid, my friend James, who you know, he told me, have you seen the Lost Star Wars film? And I was like, no, what's this Lost Star Wars film? We're the biggest Star Wars fans when we were the kids. Like, he was the only friend I had that like enjoyed Star Wars as much as me, except for like one other person. So I was like, Lost Star Wars film? Like, what is this? What could this be? You know? He's like, it's this great movie called Spaceballs. And I'm like,
that does not count.
It counts.
Does not count.
My stupid headcanon, whatever the hell that word means, it counts. So we got Spaceballs, and then Number 11, I'm gonna say it's that Kylo Ren SNL skit.
That don't count either. It's not even canon. Then I should have
Bobby Moynihan get bodied into a fridge, which I
then I should have included the Lando Calrissian SNL skit.
You could have. It wasn't against you.
Sorry, this is random. I forgot to talk about it earlier. But you didn't like the song with the lady when they went into the yacht. It was like you know how they have like they always have like that cantina type song. It was groovy. It was a groovy song. I like. They got like.
So now we're getting into the real movies.
All right.
Because Force Awakens ain't a real movie. I'm just gonna say that right now.
Ooh.
No.
He put 10, Spaceballs above Force Awakens.
Indeed, I put an SNL skit done to promote the movie above the movie.
Oh.
That's how much I don't like that movie.
Damn.
Number 10, I'm gonna say Revenge of the Sith.
Okay, I'll take it.
Honestly, like, it's my least favorite of the prequels. I still like it, but it's just like there for me, you know. What I do gotta say though, which kind of makes it above Force Awakens for me, is that like I really like the stuff that came out of it, you know, like the era it established the end of the Jedi, you know, and that really set the tone and really was continued in the Star Wars Legends comics, which I read all of as a kid. So like that was cool for me, like the period between 3 and 4. But as for the film itself, like it's fine. I don't have any problems with it, honestly. I just don't like it that much.
It's over, Anakin. I have the high ground. Best line ever.
Although Obi-Wan is amazing in that film, and I will say nothing. I will hear nothing against that character and that performance by Ewan McGregor.
You were my brother, Anakin.
that should still be.
You were supposed to destroy the Sith, not join them. Lead them.
Quality piece of acting. No, honestly,
right? Facts. Hire me, Kathleen. All right.
Number 9, I gotta say, is Phantom Menace. Because
God, you put that above Force Awakens?
There's a reason.
All right.
It's because of the practical effects.
Okay.
And because I really do like the way the film looks. Like, honestly.
And Qui-Gon is not a bad Jedi either. So. And Darth Maul. I have
a bit of nostalgia for that film because other than the original trilogy, it's the first Star Wars film that I remember seeing. And it was the one that really kind of hooked me besides, you know, Return of the Jedi and New Hope. Like, so there's also that. Like, I really do like the way that they shot it because it feels like it introduces CGI elements because, of course, it's the 90s. Of course it is, you know. Look at Jurassic Park. But it did it in the same way that Jurassic Park did, where it's like, we're still filming this on a real set. We're still filming this with props. We're still doing prosthetics. We're still doing, you know, animatronic stuff.
Don't get confused with the remastered version.
Some CGI thrown in there
from the remastered, right? Don't confuse it for the remastered one. Because you remember, there's a Yoda puppet one, and then there's also the CGI Yoda. You watched the Yoda puppet one?
Yeah.
Okay, got you.
That's the one that I watched. I didn't even know there's a remaster.
The Yoda puppet looked like he was smoking dead sticks. Seriously. Way too many dead sticks, bro.
I do appreciate that, at least at a time where CGI was so big and like everyone was using it for everything, and instead of using it to like help and aid practical effects, they used it in place of it. I appreciate that they still went and they made models. They made, you know, they made life-size battle droids, you know. They might not have, like, they used them at least as a model for the CGI ones. Like that's why I like that film. Obviously, it's not great. But, you know,
except the only great part about it is the Darth Maul fight.
Yeah, Obi-Wan, Qui-Gon, and Darth Maul are amazing in that. So,
yeah.
That's my number 9. Number 8, I'm going to say Last Jedi. Again, because of the Luke stuff. I think that just makes sense for the character, in my opinion.
Okay.
Number 7, I'm going to put the Clone Wars movie up there. The animated one. Because, I'm not gonna go over it because it's a long story, but I do
Yeah.
have a personal story that goes along with that movie that makes it mean a lot more
Okay.
than the other ones to me. And also because like it really, if that film didn't do well, it would have, the Clone Wars series would have died right there. And that, in my opinion, is the best thing that they've put out for Star Wars, period. So
Okay.
it also led to that. And then number 6 is Attack of the Clones. I'm gonna throw that out there because as a kid, that was the peak Star Wars for me.
It was a fun movie. It
Prequels.
was a fun movie.
And like obviously the acting's not great.
Nope.
But the stuff on Kamino, especially with Jango Fett and Obi-Wan, and like the chase through the asteroids and Geonosis and all that stuff, like as a kid, that sticks in every single like fiber of my being. Like I remember that movie so well, you know. And it, because of that, it's pure nostalgia, like pure nostalgia. If I went back and watched it, I watched it like a few months ago, and it still affects me. Like the nostalgia affects me. It overshadows any like, you know, any film classes I've taken or anything I've seen or read like that tells me this is bad. It just overtakes that and overshadows it. So, I guess we're at top 5, right?
Top 5. Yep.
This is where shit gets good. Bottom my number 5 is Empire. I like it more than I did as a kid, but as a kid that was my least favorite film from Star Wars, period. Because I just thought it was boring as hell. I like it now, but even then I still like 4 other films more than I do it. Like I have a really big appreciation for it, having watched it as like a teenager and now as a 20-year-old. But as a kid, didn't care for it. I thought it's hell. Like I couldn't sit through it most of the time. Number 4, I'm gonna say Solo, because this film is great. It's just fun. You know, it's something that we don't really get in Star Wars all that often. That's apparently as detached as we can be from like the rebellion, even though we are still somewhat
associated with it, man.
Yeah, but it's
always the Empire and it's always the rebellion.
It's the first time where I see them going in a way that they're kind of going with the Marvel movies, where they're doing like a genre film, you know?
Yeah.
Like this is a gangster movie.
Yep.
It's cool.
It's a rugged movie.
Like other films like this, where that's not based around the rebellion, like Rogue One was.
Yeah.
Like they do in Marvel, where it's like Thor is a comedy film, like Ant-Man is a heist movie. Like
yeah,
I want to see that more seep into Star Wars.
Black Panther is a cultural movie. You know, all that.
You got like Spider-Man, which is like a John Hughes movie. Like I want to see that kind of blending of genre in Star Wars more often. I think Solo is the big gateway into that.
Doctor Strange, the mystical trippy movie. You know, all that stuff is good.
So number 3, Rogue One, because like I said, it's great. I don't have any qualms with it except for the introductions, and it's fantastic.
And the soundtrack.
Nope. Nope. But the directing is fantastic in that film, especially in the dogfights. Like that's like, it's like taking the nostalgia from watching, you know, Jedi and New Hope. And it's like, well, why don't we make that so it actually feels like that? You know, like instead of going back and be like, they kind of just sit in their cockpits and like nothing really happens. Like this is like, no, they're sitting in their cockpits, but shit is happening and it's amazing. Things are blowing up. They're shooting down stuff. One guy crashed into a shield. Like, oh my god, like that stuff is incredible to me. But all right, top 2, right?
Yep.
Where do we place these? Jedi's my number 2. Return of the
Jedi. Okay.
Because that film to me is with I have problems with the beginning of it.
Yeah.
Like with the entire Jabba's Palace sequence. I feel like even as a kid, it dragged on, like really dragged on. It's like 30 minutes of the film.
It did drag on, you know? Yeah, a lot of the movie, yeah. That could have been done in 10 minutes.
It could have been done in 10, 15 minutes. It takes double that. But once the film starts going, like, you have
once you get out of that whole rut.
In my opinion, you have the best lightsaber fight because it's the most emotional. And you get fighting on the ground, which you get from Empire, like on Hoth, but you also get the Death Star battle, which is bringing back to the starship fights from New Hope. It blends those two together so well.
Don't forget the Ewoks.
I actually like the Ewoks, minus those movies because they suck. But
yeah, but the fights down there too are pretty cool.
Yeah, they're really cool. Like I love the Ewoks, honestly. Like, sorry.
And the moment when Han thought that Leia chose Luke instead of him, and he's all like pissed off. He's like, "Oh, what does he have that I don't?"
There's so much great stuff in that film, and it's one of the best examples I think of a movie series ending. Because
it feels like an end.
It does. Like them all sitting around the campfire, and they're laughing and listening to the Ewoks sing. That is the perfect ending to a franchise. That's like the only time I've ever seen it done in a similar fashion is the Indiana Jones ones with Last Crusade.
Yeah.
Like, and other than those two movies, I can't really think of an ending for a franchise that wasn't disappointing in some way or another. Like, it's just simple and it works, and the entire film takes everything you loved about the past two and it blends it into this one, and it adds new stuff. It adds new drama.
And character development too, especially for Luke.
It adds character development. It adds great moments for these characters and everything. Like, it's...
Yeah.
As a kid, it was probably my favorite. But as an adult, I gotta give it to New Hope. Like, that is the most influential film in my life, period.
And in filmmaking in general. People will not admit it.
It's one of the most influential films in filmmaking. You're absolutely
right. It kicked off the sci-fi craze. It did. Because remember, it came out like 76 or something like that? 77. After that, you're looking at Blade Runner, and then you're looking at
Fifth Element. You've got so many.
Fifth Element, exactly. That's exactly what that's it. Fifth Element, and all these other 80s sci-fi films that kicked it off. That was the Kickstarter.
It pretty much paved the way for next generation Star Trek to come.
Of course, yeah.
Like everything, effects were never the same again.
Nope.
Music was incredible. Like there's not a single thing about that movie that I can say I hate, or even don't even like. Like everything in that film.
Writing and dialogue kind of sucks. In parts.
To me, it feels real. It establishes the world that I love as a fan, as a kid, as an adult, and it has my favorite scene in cinema history, which is where I'm gonna stop talking about it. It's the twin sun setting.
Yes, absolutely.
It's just,
and the music accompanied by it too.
Yeah, oh my god, Binary Sunset is incredible. It's the best. It's my favorite song from any soundtrack ever. But like that scene is just, it's simple and it's beautiful. It's a boy looking out at the stars,
looking at his future, and
then it comes to him, and then he does, like, it's so powerful, and it you can relate that to anyone, because you can ask anyone, everyone can say at some point in their life they looked up at the stars and just wondered, not just
what's out there,
but what's out there for me,
Yeah.
And that to me is just powerful, and it's an incredible piece of cinema.
And that's one of the saving touchbacks for Last Jedi, obviously, when he perishes.
It comes full circle,
It comes full circle, and he's looking off into the cliffs, and he's like, I'm here.
He found his purpose.
I found my purpose. He had his L3 moment. You know what I'm saying?
Well, like, it's so incredible, and that film is just a monumental piece of filmmaking in cinema. And
yeah, I can see why you like it. I mean, if you look at my buddy Gage and a lot of a few other people, we talked about it, and it's like, if you look at and you hope constructively, there's a lot of minor issues that we would notice now, because of how much the film industry has evolved. But as for it gets a pat on the back, because it's a very experimental movie, and a lot of new ideas were being tried, and they took which people believe one of the inspirations for Star Wars actually came from Valerian, A lot of people actually argue that because
I mean,
of
I'd
the
say
book.
more Flash Gordon than anything.
Yeah, Flash Gordon,
If I had
Valerian,
to say 3 inspirations for New Hope,
Samurai too. Don't forget
it'd be
Samurai.
Akira Kurosawa's films with, you know, Seven Samurai, and I don't think Rashomon was out. Maybe might have been. Akira Kurosawa's films that were out at the time. Flash Gordon, because of like the space opera setting, as well as, you know, like they literally just steal the opening crawl from Flash Gordon, so there's also that.
Yep.
And thirdly, I mean, it's not a film, it's World War II. It's just World War II and the films that came out about World War II, because literally it's space Nazis.
Essentially, yep.
Dogfighting and everything. Like,
you have the mad fascist leader.
If it's not,
and then you got that one fascist guy, and you got his followers underneath.
If it's not inspired by samurai in the design, it's inspired by World War II. You know? Like,
and that's probably one of the lines I like about Solo when he says to the lieutenant, when he's like, why are we going there? What's our purpose? Like, why are we doing this for? Oh, it's their land. We're the one trespassing. It was like, we're the one that needs to be, you know, like, what's happening? Like, why are we even doing this? And even the guy doesn't even know why he's doing it. He's just doing it because he's being told to do it. We're going to change the better world for better, but how is that so? It was never explained.
It's always that old excuse of we're just following orders. You know?
We're following orders, you know?
And that's the entire empire in a nutshell.
Pretty much.
But yeah, it's just amazing that film even came out, you know, and especially did as well as it did.
Yeah.
And that's why
I know. I mean, I can see why. I mean, for me, it wouldn't be my personal favorite, but I do enjoy A New Hope because of the things, like you said, the things it sets up for, and introduction of characters and all that. And it's great. It's good. It's good. It's good to just sit back and appreciate the origin of something. You know what I mean? Yeah. And what started it all, and you know, when you hear the stories that, like, Mark Hamill thought that Harrison Ford was going to be the lead guy. He didn't know the story was going to be about him, and that it was going to evolve to what it is today. It's a Luke Skywalker story.
Yeah,
you know,
if you read some of, like, George Lucas's old scripts, like original drafts, and like even like the rewrites, because he did so many, they were horrible. They were god awful. The fact that they even got to the point where, like, they were Star Wars is incredible. Where it was even recognizable as Star Wars is incredible. You know, like, that film is just, I don't know. I've said so much about it. It's just, I
can't argue with that. I mean, I can see why. Just like how Revenge of the Sith is important to me.
It's the same way.
It's the same thing for you. You know, it has those reasons, and a lot of people wouldn't view it that way, but it's all a personal thing. And what people enjoy. It's subjective, what people enjoy, and you can't argue with what people enjoy too much. You know what I mean? Exactly. Unless it's, like, completely immorally, like, oh, I enjoy killing people.
It's straight up terrible.
It's terrible. But other than that, when it comes to, like, music, media, things like that, food, you know what I mean? Like, you know, you can't really argue with what somebody likes as far as, you know, things like that. You know what I mean? Exactly. And that's fine. That's why I never force anybody to be like, oh, my opinion is better than yours. Oh, what the reason why I hate the movie is why you should hate the movie. It's like, nah, man. It's like you say you like Deadpool 2. A lot of people like Deadpool 2. But for me, it's just not my thing. And I don't discredit, and I don't try to bring anybody else down because they liked it. And I'm not going to tell them why they shouldn't like it.
I'm not going to try and convince you of why you should like it.
Exactly. I mean, I expect you to share your reasons why you liked it.
Yeah, but I'm not going to be like, you should like it because this.
And if you don't like it, you suck, you're trash, and you're... Yeah, that's just stupid to me. But unfortunately, we do not have time to get into the predictions, unfortunately, because this video is actually longer than I thought it was going to be, which is completely fine because it's a full in-depth discussion, and videos like this is great. If you guys watched all the way to the end of this, I really do applaud you for that, because it's a lot of chunk in this video. Here's a big chunk of just information and just talking about some things, and you guys just let us know in the comments, if you watch this far, your thoughts on Solo, your thoughts on Star Wars as a whole, your thoughts as to everything we discussed in this video. Yeah. We pretty much covered a lot as far as the Star Wars universe is concerned, the film industry. We talked about a lot of stuff. So let us know in the comments your thoughts. Dylan, anything you would like to say before we close off?
Let us know if you want more Star Wars on this channel. If you want us,
We
to
need
come
more
back
Star
and
Wars
do
on this
again.
channel.
And let us know if you want to see a video about our predictions for the future.
I was actually gonna make that. I was actually gonna talk to you about that after the video. Maybe we could do a separate
little video.
Yeah, like a separate video, because that in itself can be a long discussion, because there's so many options and there's so many things that can go with this. And
like 3 projects they already in, 4 or 5 projects they've announced that haven't even gotten trailers or anything past that. Yeah.
I could. Well, by the time they see this, I would have already posted a poll on YouTube and on Twitter to see if people actually want to see that. We're gonna do it either way, but I just want to let people know, because we're gonna do it either way. If they,
screw your opinion, guys. We're gonna do it anyways.
If they say no, we're still gonna do it. But if you say yes, that'll be even better. It'll give us more motivation to want to do it. Ooh, that was not a good notification. What was that? Okay, cool. Anyways, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Thank you so much for watching. Thanks to Dylan to coming on the channel for us talking about it. We do D&D every single Friday. We got a new session going on. Come join us, man. It'd be really cool to see some familiar faces. Just to say hi, man.
I'm basically Drax the Destroyer.
He plays an awesome Minotaur with a cool backstory. So you guys just make sure you come in and say, I don't even know when this video is going to go up. Hopefully this goes up before we do D&D. We'll see. We'll see. But it'll be up before the weekend. That's so you'll be seeing that. But thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video. Thank you. Clockmaster out.